Welcome to part 5 on how to Nuzlocke Pokemon Fire Red. We're going to lead things off here with Blaine, and the easy strategy is going to go Venusaur into any grass Pokemon that you have. If you have any bug Pokemon still in your party, those are really, really good. Steel types, also another one. Very, very good here against Blaine. Seriously, though, grab yourself a water-type Pokemon. Actually, no, grab yourself a whole team of water-type Pokemon, but all you're going to have to do to win this battle is press the A button. Seadra, of course, is probably the best choice here. Can outspeed the Arcanine, I'd love to see it, but keep in mind, some Pokemon don't do quite as well. These Pokemon don't have good special defense, right? They're physical attackers.
Now, you might be tempted to skip that free boat ride, but keep in mind, on Island 3, there is a berry forest. Yes, that contains actual berries. In the northwest corner, there's a Lumberry, which will cure any status affliction. Better yet, it's renewable every 1,500 steps. But if you're like me and you prefer to save time, click that PK Hex icon, give yourself all the Lumberries you've ever desired. And if you manage your encounters correctly, there should be a guaranteed execute here, which is going to be very good for your Nuzlocke team. And Giovanni is up next. Remember that Kingler? Well, he's going to be really good in this battle. Even though he's a physical attacker, still does a lot of damage here with Surf. And most importantly, he naturally learns to protect, so you can throw on some leftovers, which if you don't know are located where the Snorlaxes are located, but you have to use the item finder in that exact spot. But this makes this battle so easy. Alternatively, you can also just press the A button if you're using Lapras or Seadra. Do keep in mind your typings. Here, Tentacruel is going to be weak to your ground type. EQ doing a lot of damage here. Nidoqueen is going to outspeed as well, taking Tentacruel out, so be cautious with your types here. Venusaur, similarly, he can do a lot of damage, but keep in mind, also weak to that EQ, and take about 2 from Nidoqueen, probably 1 from Nidoking. Can be used in an emergency situation, get up a Leech Seed. Again, Petal Dance, yeah, gonna do a lot of damage, but it's pretty dangerous to use this in a Nuzlocke. So if you're going to go for the grass type, Tangela is your obvious choice here, and it's 100% guaranteed. Just surf down south of Palatown, that little grass patch there, guaranteed. Super strong Pokemon, very good physical defense. Has got Tickle, which is going to lower the Nidoking's physical attack as well as its defense. You can come in here with Giga Drains, Mega Drains, taking him out. You got free heals. It's pretty useful here, and Tangela is just going to wall this battle. Now, Parasect is also pretty good in this situation. Got to watch out for the rock throws from the Rhyhorn, but they are so weak to grass that even Bullet Seed coming from a physical attacker does quite a lot of damage. But the real utility of Parasect is going to be against the Nidoqueen and the Nidoking here. Again, tanking that EQ, really just not doing much damage at all. Got that Spore, put it to sleep, no problems. And when you combine this with your Gyarados, with the Intimidates, oh man, this is very, very useful, especially for Nidoking, who can hit you pretty hard with those EQs, pretty hard with those Thrashes. Just go pivot back and forth between the two. Get lucky at an Effect Spore too if you're playing your odds right here, but you can whittle them down and get them real weak. Now remember part 2? If you haven't seen it, click that link, but you get a guaranteed Abra on Route 25. PK Hex him into an Alakazam, unstoppable. Just press A and Psychic your way to victory. And similar situation here with Gengar. He can learn Giga Drain, which is going to take out most of the team. The Nidoqueen and the Nidoking can't do anything to Gengar. The only move they can use is Poison Sting, because he's going to be immune to the fighting, normal, and with Levitate, immune to that EQ. So really just an easy battle here with Gengar. No issues. The Route 22 Gary rival battle is up next, and he's going to lead things off with a Pidgeot, and if you go electric Pokemon here, you're going to stand a pretty good chance of taking him out without any issues. Again, Raichu get the job done. Magneton, again, is going to beat Charizard, just so you know, but you can also go Electabuzz in this situation, which I highly recommend, as it is guaranteed. Yes, that's right, guaranteed. Go to the power plant. Bring a level 35 Pokemon, as well as a Repel, and you'll guarantee yourself Electabuzz, as it is the only Pokemon that's level 35. You can also go Golem in this situation, although if you happen to have it, I would probably try to save it for the Charizard.
Assuming you go electric, again, throw that water type out here. Tentacruel is going to be very, very safe here because the Rhyhorn doesn't actually know any ground type moves. Again, same thing here with Venusaur. It's going to be very safe against the Rhyhorn, keeping in mind whatever Pokemon you use to kill the Rhyhorn is going to determine what comes next. So unless you want to fight the Alakazam right away, I suggest going with a water type like your Kingler. This, of course, is going to bait the Execute. And this particular Execute happens to have 3 status moves, which means it's going to spam a status move. Well, good news is you've got those Lumberries. Put one on a flying type and get the easy win against Execute. If you go for Aerodactyl, that's going to bait the Gyarados. If you go for your Pidgeot or your Fearow, that's going to bring out the Alakazam next. I don't know about you, but I'd rather fight Gyarados first. Throw an Electric type out, or use your Venusaur, or throw in your Vileplume. Now, these two are very safe here. I mean, he can't even touch these Pokemon. That, of course, is going to bring out Alakazam again. But if you've got a Snorlax in your party, you are good to go. Even with the Sped-F drop off the Psychic, I can easily tank that hit, no problems from the Psychic. Getting in a Body Slam against that weak physical defense, easy wins. Is Snorlax on your ban list? Well, don't worry, I've got a couple different options you can use here. Arcanine is very, very good in this situation. It has the move Extreme Speed, which is the fastest move in the game, and will definitely outspeed the Alakazam. Also has very good special defense, so even after a single boost of Calm Mind, Alakazam is not able to take out the Arcanine, and it can take him out with 2 extreme speeds. Now again, EV training, better nature, probably Oko range here on the Alakazam. You can also go for your Fearow. If you use that to kill the Execute, it'll bait Alakazam. A good strong Fearow attack here. Take him out with a single Drill Peck. Again, keeping in mind, he likes to spam those Calm Minds. Now this can be partially countered by using Psych Up on your Golduck. However, remember Alakazam has both Disable and Future Sight. So if you get some bad RNG, as you can see in this sequence, now I have to switch out. And this is very problematic because Alakazam is going to outspeed everything. And it's twice boosted now on the Calm Mind, and it's just going to start sweeping your team. However, Electabuzz is faster. So I would definitely go and get that guaranteed Electabuzz. Parasect is phenomenal here. Spore can put him to sleep, stop those Calm Minds from boosting up. And even if he does, he's not going to do very much damage. And Leech Life, of course, does a lot of damage. Don't have Leech Life? Or just want to put an old move on your Pokemon? Well, head on down to Mount Moon, 2nd floor. You'll get 100% Paras here. Use the move Thief. You can steal those mushrooms from the Paras. Take those mushrooms over to 2 Island and head into the first house, and you'll find the move relearner. In exchange for 1 large mushroom or 2 small mushrooms, he'll let you relearn any level up move that you want. Vaporeon is also a phenomenal wall for Alakazam. He's got the super effective bite. Also comes in with the quick attack, which is good for those chip damage. And of course, most importantly, he has the move Haze. And this is going to clear all the stat changes, so all those Calm Minds go away, and Alakazam is no longer an issue. And that means that Gary's last Pokemon, Charizard, is up next. And if you have a Tentacruel that's still alive, you're in great shape here. Set up with the barriers, decreasing wing attack damage. Flamethrower is not going to do anything, thanks to the really high special defense. And Surf just might kill the Charizard. Doesn't quite in this situation, but if you've got a good Tentacruel, good nature, good IVs, you know, you can get the job done. Lapras, a little bit less useful. Still does quite a lot of damage, but Golem is going to be the best Pokemon for this situation, as Charizard is quad weak to those Rock Blasts, so all you got to do is hit, and guarantee you're going to get that win, even with 2. Love to see it. Chances are you probably don't have a Golem, so I'd bring an Intimidator just like your Gyarados, or use your Arcanine, decrease the damage from that wing attack, and Gyarados, of course, has Rain Dance, which I definitely recommend using, as that's going to force him to use wing attack. So rather than getting demolished, Pokemon like Kingler can come in and easily take out the Charizard. Gengar's pretty good here in this situation, and you can teach him the move Thunderbolt, which is going to deal a lot of damage. And keep in mind that the AI is going to go for Scary Face here because Gengar's faster, which can also be used to your advantage for Electabuzz too. And there's one last strategy I'm going to talk about, and that's the Alakazam Sweep. It's a dangerous one, but if you want to go for it, you go for it. Lead things off with your Gyarados, get some Intimidates in, set up a Reflect, do some pivots, put an Alakazam, do some Calm Minds, and get ready for a nice little sweeperoo. But of course, you got to watch out for those crits. It might just kill you, and of course, if that's not enough, Quick Attack, man, dangerous. If you choose to do this strategy, once you're boosted up, just press A and the battle is over. And that, of course, means it's time to get ready to fight the Elite Four. In order to have the best chances of success in your Nuzlocke, you need to pick a team of 6 Pokemon that are strong against all 4 Elite Four members, as well as the champion. And first on the docket is Lorelei. Ice-type Pokemon are going to be weak to Fire, Fighting, Rock, and Steel. However, she's got 2 Psychic Pokemon negating that fighting weakness, and the rest have a Water typing, negating the weakness to Steel and also adding a wonderful weakness to Electricity as well as Grass. Bruno's up next, and if you lose your Nuzlocke to him, well, you probably need to go back to basic training because his team is pretty weak to Psychic here. Also going to be useful against the Onyxes as their special defense is not so great. Physical, yes. So unless you plan to lose your run here on a counter from the Hitmonchan, I'd go with the special type attacks. Up next is the crowd favorite Agatha, deemed the Nuzlocke run-ender. That lead Gengar's got Double Team and Toxic, Golbat with a Confuse Ray as well, and of course Haunter with Mila, Curse, never good. Arbok can hit you with the Screeches, Sludge Bombs, doing a lot of damage, and then you gotta watch out. Agatha is dangerous. And unfortunately, you can't get a Dark-type Pokemon prior to defeating the Elite Four in Base Fire Red, so your only option is to go with Dark-type moves or Ghost moves. Obviously, Ghost moves are going to be much better in this situation, given the fact that Pokemon like Gengar have high special defense, so you're going to deal a lot more damage with your Shadow Ball than you will with your Bite. And the final Elite Four member is, of course, Lance, who, aside from the Gyarados, has a weakness to Ice, so make sure to bring that Ice Beam TM. And last but not least, of course, is the Rival, who basically has a slightly upgraded version of the battle we just fought, this time with a Rhydon and Exeggutor. Overall, pretty similar battle, going to be pretty similar strats, so let's dive into the details of actually picking our team. What I have here is a type chart, and I've highlighted the types of attacks that are used by the Pokemon in the Elite Four as well as the Champion battle. As you can see, nearly every single type is used. The 2 exceptions, Bug and Electric. Now that's really, really good news, because there's a lot of water Pokemon in Fire Red, as you know. And, well, without any electric moves, other than the Giga Drain coming off of the Exeggutor, that's it. Nothing's going to stop a water Pokemon from doing pretty good damage here, so I definitely would think about bringing at least 1 water type. Alright, so we're going to spend a considerable amount of time here on this page. As you can see, there are a lot of Pokemon that you have access to that you can bring to the Elite Four. However, some of them are going to be really good, others are going to be almost useless. And depending on your rules, you might have certain Pokemon banned, and again, other Pokemon are going to be really, really hard to get. They could be 1% encounters, or depending on your gift clause, things like that, you may not have access to all of these Pokemon. So I'm going to focus on the more common ones and talk about some strategies and stuff that you can use to determine which Pokemon you want to take into your Nuzlocke, right? Because again, it's going to be different for every game because you might have a Pokemon that died, or maybe you missed an encounter, so you may not have access to all these Pokemon come the Elite Four. Also, importantly, you may not have all the TMs, right? So that's really critical too. And thinking about which Pokemon you're going to take in is which Pokemon can learn which TMs, and how they're going to be useful, and how you might switch up your movesets between battles. These are important things to think about. So I went ahead and grouped these Pokemon by types within each category, so we can kind of segue between different mons, talking about how one might be more useful than the other. Again, it's going to be variable based on nature, IVs, whether you want to do some EV training or not too, that can factor in. So we'll get things started here with Snorlax. As you can see, Snorlax is an incredible Pokemon. You know, special defense is absolutely insane. Move pool is excellent. Got access to a lot of different TM options here. And of course, most importantly, rest. That's going to heal up. You can use Amnesia, boost that special defense even more. Just an absolutely incredible Pokemon here to bring into the Elite Four. It's often on a lot of people's ban lists. So, you know, depending on your Nuzlocke, you may or may not be bringing your Snorlax. But it is absolutely incredible if you so choose to use it. Incredible against Lorelei. Again, you know, you can teach it Thunderbolt. It's going to pound through that. Not as good against Bruno. Definitely wouldn't use it for that. Very, very good for Agatha. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. Stick a Shadow Ball on him. I mean, just absolutely phenomenal. Very, 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 very good against Agatha. Almost completely walls that battle. And same thing with Lance. I mean, you know, you can stick Ice Beam on your Snorlax. Again, even though it's a physical attacker, it still has pretty decent special attack. And because it's so bulky, it can survive a lot of hits. So this gives you a lot of endurance, especially throwing those leftovers. I mean, it's pretty hard to take a Snorlax out. So it makes it really, really good here for use in this Elite Four. I mean, it's just a great Pokemon. Pretty much useful in every single battle, all the way through the champion, except for Bruno. Up next is Alakazam, and if you remember from earlier in the video, you can use PK Hex to obtain yourself an Alakazam here. And this Pokemon is absolutely incredible. Super, super, super fast, super powerful. Naturally learns Calm Mind. It can teach a lot of TMs. Shockwave can pretty much demolish Lorelei. Bruno, of course, is absolutely demolished by Psychic. And Agatha, of course, is also going to be weak to Psychic as well. Probably going to outspeed everything. And pretty much just get a nice clean sweep of Agatha and make that one real easy. Lance, again, not too bad. Again, you know, you can use him to get a lot of damage in. Some Pokemon like Gyarados have pretty good special defense, so definitely be careful with that. But again, Shockwave can definitely take care of that. Again, not as useful here, but very good here against Champion. Good against the Rhydon, very good against Charizard. Got to watch out for that Aerial Ace. But with so much special attack, I mean, if you Calm Mind up, you can do some sweep action. You can set up Reflex for the physical defense. A lot of usefulness here for Alakazam. Very good Pokemon. Jinx is up next, and you can actually get an almost guaranteed Jinx. Trade for Poliwhirl in Cerulean City, and you've got 6 different opportunities, possible encounters to try to catch a Poliwag or Poliwhirl. So very good chance that you might get a Jinx, and this Pokemon is very good. Because it's got excellent special defense, very good special attack, good speed, overall excellent Pokemon for this Elite Four challenge. I mean, can kind of make base here against Lorelei. Not going to do a ton of damage, but you know, Perish Song is always pretty good. Of course, Bruno gets demolished, easily demolished here with some Psychics. Agatha, got to be careful. We got to watch out for that Shadow Ball, but you know, can be useful for the Haunter. You know, might be useful for the Arbok, but you got to be careful again because Jinx doesn't have good physical defense. In fact, it actually has terrible physical defense, but it's good special defense. So it's going to be good to, you know, potentially eat attacks, you know, and challenges like Lorelei, right? But you got to watch out for those physical attacks coming in, okay? And going to be absolutely phenomenal against Lance. You know, spam Ice Beam, and you're pretty much done. Other than the Gyarados, it's not going to do too much damage. You're going to watch out for Hyper Beam. He's probably going to go for it, just given the AI and how that works in Gen 3. It's probably going to go for the most effective damage move, which is going to be Hyper Beam. So do be cautious of that. And if you've got something that's going to resist that, you maybe pivot to a Golem or something else that you can use in that situation, do that. But the rest of Lance's Pokemon are going to go down to that Ice Beam, no problem. Again, going to be really good here. I can use it against the Rival, going against the Pidgeot, you know, Ice to take out the Rhydon, no problems. It's going to be able to resist that Psychic coming in from the Alakazam, taking out the Executor. Gotta watch out for Charizard, but very strong Pokemon. Excellent to bring in here for the E4. Mr. Mime can also be obtained via trade. Got almost guaranteed Abra to use that level 10 Pokemon here on Route 25. If you save that encounter for later, hit it with an Ultra Ball, or you want to use that Master Ball, guarantee that Abra, then you can trade him over for Mr. Mime. Very good Pokemon. It's got a lot of good moves that kind of help as a lead Pokemon. You know, you can use it for Light Screen, you can set up some barriers. It does have a little bit of coverage here with Magical Leaf, which you can use against Lorelei. It can be very nice for that. Does have Substitute as well. Not a bad move, although I personally abandoned my Nuzlocke, but you know, again, you can do whatever you want. It's your Nuzlocke. It's going to be very strong here against Bruno. No issues there. Again, Agatha got to watch out for those physical attacks. Again, Mr. Mime does not have good physical defense, so be cautious with that. The better strategy for Agatha is to use a normal type Pokemon like Snorlax and put your Shadow Ball on that. You know, that's just going to get you a lot better off, again, because you can't get hit by Shadow Punch. You do have to watch out for Toxics, but you know, those things are a lot less scary than a Shadow Ball coming at you if you're Mr. Mime. Probably best to avoid that, right? Again, it does have some good coverage. You can teach it Thunderbolt. That's always helpful. Again, you can use that against Lorelei. You can power up with some Calm Minds. If you want a baton pass into something, you could always consider that strategy. That could be useful as well, which again can help you in certain situations. But keep in mind, not all of the Pokemon in the Elite Four Challenge will let you set up, right? So Pokemon like Gary's Pidgeot are going to probably spam Sand Attack, and that's not going to be very good, or it might hit you with a Feather Dance. And then you're going to baton pass into something else, and again, assuming you're Calm Minding and baton passing the special attack, it may not be as big of an issue with the Feather Dance, but you're going to baton pass that Sand Attack. So do keep that in mind if you're trying to set up with Mr. Mime. I try to avoid those strategies, because again, a crit or something else can kind of ruin that for you. So be careful, but overall, good Pokemon. Next, we're going to talk about some poison types here in the S tier, leading off with Muck. And this Pokemon is absolutely incredible, and if you have it, I would absolutely bring it. And the good news is you can guarantee it. So you've got a pretty decent chance of getting it in the Pokemon Mansion, but if you use your Super Rod, assuming you play by the Dupes Clause, which most people do, there's a 1% encounter for Grimer in Celadon City with a Super Rod. So basically, that's going to guarantee you a Muck if you so choose. And this Pokemon is phenomenal. Just super bulky. It's got a lot of HP. It's got good attack. Pretty okay physical defense. Very good special defense. It's very good. It naturally learns Sludge Bomb, which is phenomenal. If you get yourself a poison off, you can set up some acid armor to boost up that physical defense. And of course has an excellent TM set. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. You can teach him Thunderbolt with that strong special defense. You can come in here against Lorelei, get the job done pretty nicely. Jinx, you don't have to worry about that. Doesn't have a psychic move. Love to see it. So Muck can just get the job done there, no problems. Got to watch out for EQs off the Onyxes, but otherwise can do some pretty good damage here against Bruno. Again, with that excellent TM set, very good here. Muck's going to be phenomenal against Agatha, right? You can throw in some acid armor, boost up to protect against the Sludge Bomb and the Shadow Ball, which aren't going to do very much damage. Sludge Bomb is not going to do very much at all, but Shadow Ball could definitely do some damage to you. And of course, being immune to Toxic is critical, right? Because you can just pretty much set up with Muck. What you could do is throw some acid armor in there, put some leftovers on him. Again, Sludge Bomb's not going to do that much damage. You don't have a lot of attacking power in this situation. But, he does have, again, some use, right? You could use Thunderbolt. You could use a Flamethrower. Again, you could use something to attack while you kind of stall out. You could stall out BP. But again, you're not going to take a lot of damage. So it's very good in the sense that you can just put a Pokemon in and kind of stall out. Again, if you want to, set up a Leech Seed or something with your Venusaur, and then you throw in Muck, he's just going to chill on there all day. So very good here defensively against Agatha. Again, not as good on the attacking front, but still pretty good. Again, because you can't use Seeker Power because of the Ghost type, but you can use that on the Arbok. You certainly can use it on the Golbat. So you can get some attacks in there. You just have to deal with a couple Ghost Pokemon. But the advantage is you can't get hit with the Toxic. You got to watch out for Dream Eater. That's going to be super effective. But Haunter generally tends to just go for Curse right away. So that takes away half his health, and then you can just switch out. So not too big of a deal. Heading into Lance here, again, Thunderbolt's going to be very good here against Gyarados. Not going to be as useful against the Dragonairs or the Dragonite. They're going to resist that. But that Sludge Bomb, man, that's going to do a lot of damage. And you can just keep spamming that. And you're going to do pretty well here. Again, Outrages are going to be special type damage in this generation, right? So with the high special defense that Muck has, I think you'll do pretty well here. Again, probably throw those lefties on him. Pretty good here. Going into the champion again, Pidgeot probably going to go for Feather Dance. That's going to make things a little bit more problematic. Hit you with some sand attacks, but it can be very useful here against Executor. Not going to take much damage at all. I can hit him with a Sludge Bomb, take out Executor, no problems. Again, he doesn't have Psychic. He doesn't have anything coming in on you. It's going to be super effective. So you can use him against the Charizard. He's going to probably take a Fire Blast. That can be good. Again, very good defensive Pokemon. So a good thing to have in your team, especially when you're thinking about E4, thinking about Nuzlocke, and having defensive Pokemon that you can switch into is very good. So Muck is an excellent addition to your team. Next, going to talk about Gengar here. Again, very powerful Pokemon. Just like with Alakazam, you can PK Hex get that evolution. This Pokemon is incredible. Very, very, very fast. And absolutely amazing special attack. And a pretty good TM set, right? Again, Thunderbolt. It's going to get the job done here against Lorelei. Don't have to worry. No issues there. Bruno, again, don't have to worry about the EQ thanks to Levitate. So that's always nice. You can certainly do some significant damage here against those Pokemon. You can teach them Psychic. Really just sweep through, no problems. Again, those fighting type moves, not going to hit the ghost, so you don't have to worry about that. I would probably avoid using your Gengar against Agatha, again, because he has a little bit higher special defense than he does physical defense, right? And of course, Ghost is super effective against Ghost, so probably want to avoid that because Gengar is going to be really good against the other Elite Four members too. So you want to preserve him so he doesn't die, right? So I would definitely put him away from the battle against Agatha. But again, very good against Lorelei, very good against Bruno. We can throw him in here against Lance. Again, the beauty is there's really no super effective moves. Other than from Agatha, you really don't have to worry about that. So with the high special defense, he's going to do well here against Outrageous. Because it's just great. Hyper Beams can't hit Gengar, right? So you don't have to worry about taking a ton of damage from Hyper Beam because it can't hit Gengar. So again, very, very good for that. Especially like I said in the previous example, you lead with something that's going to bait Hyper Beam. Bam, you switch into your Gengar. You get a free switch off the Hyper Beam. And then you can come in with some good moves here. Again, it's got a pretty good move pool. You'll probably go for your special attacks, right? And keeping in mind moves like Thunderbolt, Psychic, they're going to be pretty good. Probably less effective with your Shadow Ball. I generally don't teach Gengar Shadow Ball if I'm playing in Gen 3 because that's a physical type move, and he's a special attacker. So it's just going to be a waste to go for your 65 physical attack on your Shadow Ball rather than your 130 special attack, right? So in later generations, it becomes a special move. Shadow Ball's great. This game, not so much. I would avoid that. But again, Gengar is going to be also very good here against the rival. It's just going to be great. Obviously, Alakazam is problematic with that Psychic, but if you can get a switch in, so maybe you chip damage him, he goes for recover, you switch in, you take a risk on that. If you get hit with the Psychic, you're done. But you're probably going to outspeed the Alakazam, especially if you have good nature, good IVs, you maybe throw him some EV training. You can outspeed that Alakazam. This would be the one time you might want that Shadow Ball. Again, stock up on those Shadow Ball TMs. You can just buy a bunch of them and use that for the final battle, even though it is a physical move. Alakazam has such weak physical defense that you'll probably OHKO it anyways. But again, going to be good against the Charizard again, like last time. Again, with that high special defense, is going to really tank that battle. No problems here. Executor, again, is not going to do very much. All he can do is Giga Drain. Can't hit you with an Egg Bomb, so not a big deal here. You can Light Screen, whatever. That's fine. Very strong, very very, very, very good. And I would definitely consider bringing Gengar. Up next is Nidoking and Nidoqueen. So you have a much higher chance of getting Nidoking than you do Nidoqueen. But both Pokemon are going to be pretty good. Nidoqueen's a little bit more defensive, and Nidoking's a little bit more offensive. Neither are going to be good against Lorelei. You can use both of them here against Bruno. You can outspeed those Onyxes, take them out with some EQs. Not going to be too bad. Again, physical attack from Onyx is pretty low, so you'll probably survive an EQ, even a crit. And it certainly Hitmonchans aren't going to do that much damage, so you can take those Pokemon out. Agatha, very, very strong against Agatha, and that's really the main reason why they're in the top tier, is because Agatha tends to be the biggest problem in the E4, and they do very, very well here. Both of them can learn Shadow Ball, and that's going to be physical in this generation, and can do a lot of damage, especially with Nidoking. Pretty high physical attack, so make Agatha not too bad. Don't have to worry about those Toxic, Sludge Bombs, not going to do much at all. Very strong here. As far as Lance, not too bad. Not necessarily my go-to, but can both learn Ice Beam, so hey man, never know. Might as well throw it on there. Champion, again, gotta avoid Alakazam. Very good here against Charizard. You can teach Rock Tomb. It's gonna outspeed Rhydon. Take him out with your EQ. Don't have to worry about that. Pidgeot again. Use Rock Tomb. There, no concerns, but also got pretty good coverage, right? You could use Thunderbolt. Not as good, but definitely an option. A lot of coverage options here for the King and the Queen. So definitely consider bringing them, but they're not necessarily my go-to. But, you know, again, it all depends on what Pokemon you have left and what you want to use. They're both very reasonable options. And up next is the Water-type Pokemon, starting with Gyarados. And this Pokemon is phenomenal, mainly because it has the ability Intimidate. And this is going to lower your physical attack, so it's going to be really useful here. Used against Bruno. It's going to resist those attacks. And, of course, Agatha, who's always the problem, right? So, you know, your Shadow Ball, your Sludge Bomb, they're both physical, right? Gyarados Intimidate is going to come in, and it's going to lower that attack. It's going to make the damage a little bit less. Yeah, make things a little bit easier, right? It's got pretty decent coverage. You know, surprisingly, there's Flamethrower and Thunderbolt. So again, you can Dragon Dance, EQ, do a lot of damage there. Got a lot of different options. You know, overall, phenomenal Pokemon. I would definitely bring it. Really because of Intimidate. You know, because you've got a lot of Pokemon throughout E4 that have some physical attack coverage in addition to those special types, right? Think about Lance, right? His Pokemon all have Hyper Beam. That's physical. It's going to do a lot of damage. Gyarados Intimidate, that's going to lower that damage. You're just gonna help you out, right? Because again, you never know when a Pokemon dies, and you only have a couple left, and you got to figure some different strats out. Having that pivot through the Gyarados is really useful. Again, because it also has high special defense, so just a very good defensive Pokemon, and a very good offensive Pokemon, right? Good physical attack. Not quite as useful in this game on the attacking front. I tend to use it more defensively in Generation 3, but you know, you throw some secret power on him, get some paras, that can always be good, right? So thinking again, Gyarados is physical, so less useful for going for Surf. You're going to be better off with those physical type moves. And you can Dragon Dance, EQ, Dragon Dance, Secret Power, something like that. It's going to get you a little bit more damage here than going for those special moves. Up next is Tentacruel, and this Pokemon is phenomenal. It's got amazing special defense and is very good here against Lorelei. All you got to do is use Toxic, and you can sweep through here. It's going to resist those attacks. Again, Slowbro and Jinx, they don't have psychic attack moves, so you can take them out, no problems. Bruno, again, is also a non-issue. Agatha, a little bit less useful here. Sludge Bomb, Shadow Ball, they're physical, and Tentacruel is a specially defensive Pokemon. So be cautious. You can use it. You know, but you know, just keep in mind that you might take some damage, and especially from a crit, that could be problematic because you're gonna want your Tentacruel for Lance. Throw in some Ice Beam, man, and get the job done, no problems. Also useful against Champion again. You know, Ice Beam to Pidgeot. You can surf the Rhydon. You can surf the Charizard. I mean, so good against Charizard, so good. Pretty much everything with the Alakazam, Tentacruel can do a pretty good job. So. Overall, very good Pokemon. Lapras is equally as good as Tentacruel, if not better. It's very bulky, a lot of HP, very good defensively. It's got very good TM pull as well, and that's really what makes this Pokemon very good for this E4. Right, you can throw on Thunderbolt and take out Lorelei really without any issues. Not going to be as useful against Bruno. It's good for the Onyxes, but I would avoid it against those fighting types. Going to be weak, right? Agatha, again, going to be pretty good here. You can teach him Psychic, which is going to be super effective. So that's going to deal a lot of damage to Agatha. And of course, Ice Beam is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be Stab. It's going to destroy Lance without any issues. Also useful against Rival. Again, Lapras is pretty good against the Charizard. Fire Blast is going to do a lot of damage, though. You have to watch out, right, again, because of that Ice type, right? It's going to be neutral to Fire, so not quite as good as Tentacruel in this situation, but still a very good Pokemon, and definitely consider it bringing to your team. Cloyster is definitely another consideration. Nice, because you can set up some chip damage with Spikes, so that's always good as an entry hazard. Right, it's got very good physical defense. Again, special defense is pretty bad, so do be cautious. You would think, oh, it's going to be great against Lorelei, but no, right? It's going to get destroyed even by the resisted Surfs, right? So do keep that in mind. It would be very good against Agatha, right? Again, because Sludge Bomb, Shadow Ball, they're both going to be physical type moves, right? Now, unfortunately, there's not a lot in physical attack that Cloyster can do here with its limited move pool, right? So you're going to have to use special type attacks against Agatha. But because it has such high physical defense, it's going to be able to tank a lot of hits. You can tank a lot of Shadow Balls.
you know, and a pretty good job, right? Again, can't use Toxic, unfortunately, against Agatha, but, you know, you might be able to use Attract strats, maybe, you know, maybe hit them with some Surfs or some Might Beams, you know, get some damage in. Can certainly be useful in your team. Again, very good against Lance, right? Again, Cloyster is much more of a physical attacker, right? But it still has pretty decent special attack, 85, you know, that's not that bad, right? So you can still get some good damage in here. Some Ice Beams, take out Lance, can be useful here against Rival as well. Probably not going to want to use it against Charizard. That's a bad move, right? But could be excellent against your Rhydon, excellent against your Pidgeot, right? So definitely some utility. Maybe not the most useful water type, but I think based on the spikes and all that kind of stuff, I'd still kind of keep it in the upper tier category. Right? I mean, it's still pretty useful. Vaporeon might honestly be the best water type to bring to this battle. I mean, it is so good, right? Because it has Water Absorb, right? So that's going to render all of the water type moves from Lorelei useless, right? So what you can do is pretty much switch to something that's going to bait the Surf, and then switch back to your Vaporeon. You know, you could set up with a Toxic and stall out that way. You know, there's a lot of options. It's not necessarily the most useful for Lorelei, but it still can get the job done. I mean, it's absolutely still pretty good, right? As far as Bruno, still pretty good, right? Again, much more of a special defensive Pokemon, so do be cautious. But, you know, Surf's going to take out the Onixes. Probably wouldn't use it against the fighting types, but, you know, at least it's somewhat useful for that battle, right? But definitely very good here against Agatha. Again, Vaporeon is a special attacker, right? Physical attack of 65. Not going to do a lot of damage with Shadow Ball, but I'd probably still use it because it's going to be pretty good. You may actually get more damage with Surf. I don't know. But, you know, it's got a lot of utility. And most importantly, again, just like with that Alakazam, it's got the move Haze, right? So this is going to reset those double teams from the Gengar, right? It's going to take care of those issues, right? It's going to take a toxic poison and it's going to convert it into a regular poison, right? So that's very useful, right? So it's just absolutely phenomenal, you know, to have for this battle. Very good. Very good for Lance as well, right? It's going to hit pretty hard with those Ice Beams, taking Lance out. No issues there. And again, with the Rival, it's going to be very good against Alakazam. You know, again, it's got that high special defense. You can hit him with some bites. You can take the Rhydon out. Very useful against Charizard. Overall, high utility and amazing choice. If you still have your Eevee, I would definitely go with Vaporeon if you had to pick an evolution. Moving on to the electric types, we've got Electabuzz and Raichu. Both of them are pretty equal, I would say. You know, Raichu has a little bit more advantage when it comes to physical attack. Electabuzz has a little bit higher special attack, but, you know, Electabuzz is also faster. Again, they kind of even each other out. They're both here because they take out Lorelei, and they make her pretty much non-issue. You know, again, they're not going to be your go-to for the Onix for Bruno, right? That's pretty much guaranteed, right? But, you know, there is definitely some utility for them later in the battles. You can consider using them against Agatha, right? Again, you know, thinking about what you can do to mitigate all the issues that Agatha has, right? Because she's got all those problems, all those status issues. Again, you know, if you can hit her with a Thunderbolt, or you can use, you know, your Thunder Wave, right? You can go to the Move Learner and teach Thunder Wave, right? And then that's gonna make it really nice because you can paralyze the Gengar, and then that slows it down, and then you can switch into something that will outspeed it. So you can use these Pokemon in different ways, not necessarily just straight up attacking, right? Again, you know, Lance's Pokemon, they're going to be resistant to the Thunderbolts, right? So not going to be as useful for that. Again, Gyarados, no problems. Aerodactyl, no problems. You can take them out. So again, some utility there. The battle with Lance. And then as far as Champion's concerned, again, takes out the Pidgeot. You can use it against the Charizard. You know, again, when you get to the Champion battle, you don't really care at that point because you can sack Pokemon. So you just sack something, you put in your Electabuzz because it's faster than Charizard after you've done some chip damage, or maybe you have a powerful enough Pokemon to take it out in one shot. Again, got a lot of utility. Definitely think about bringing these Pokemon. Up next is Aerodactyl, one of the fastest Pokemon in the game. It has a little bit more limited utility, specifically in the Elite Four,
but I do include it because it is very, very good against the champion. It's going to be really, really good against your Alakazam, phenomenal against the Charizard, also the Executor, Pidgeot, right? So champion battle tends to be a little bit more challenging sometimes. Obviously, they have the highest level Pokemon, so having something like Aerodactyl that you know is going to outspeed Alakazam, is going to be able to OHKO it. That's a nice peace of mind, right? So it's again not necessarily the greatest of Pokemon to have specifically, but I still keep it in the top category just because of its strength against rival. I think that definitely is something to consider. Up next is Arcanine. This Pokemon's pretty good, I would say overall. Very strong, very fast, pretty decent defense, and pretty equal physical and special attack coverage, right? So that's great. Doesn't have the greatest of move pools, but the good thing is it does a lot of damage, right? And it's pretty defensive enough that it can tank some damage, right? So I would keep it in the bench for Lorelei, but it's definitely good against Bruno. You could take the Onixes, you could Aerial Ace, the rest of his Pokemon. That's going to be pretty strong there. Again, watch out for those counters. Could be damaging, right? Agatha, again, you've got super effective Bite. That's always going to be great. It could be useful as an Intimidate pivot, lowering the damage from your Sludge Bombs or your Shadow Balls. Not as useful against Lance, but could be, again, used for those Intimidates, decrease the damage from the Hyper Beam, and then pretty good against Rival, right? Pretty good against Executor, pretty much walls that. Pretty good against Charizard as well. Probably get the job done against the Alakazam, I would say. Pidgeot, perhaps. Gyarados, hard no. And Rhydon, be cautious, but, you might get some damage in there. You never know. You could certainly teach him Iron Tail if you wanted to. Again, so considering all things, I would say Arcanine's pretty good, especially if you have one that has Intimidate. So this particular tutorial series follows choosing Bulbasaur as your starter, but if you went with your Charmander, then you're going to have a nice Charizard here, which is going to be useful for this Elite Four battle for sure. Definitely not good against Lorelei, but it's going to be very useful here. You can teach Fly, use that against Bruno, pretty decent against Agatha. Again, you probably want to watch out for physical damage coming in from Sludge Bomb or Shadow Ball, but you're going to do a lot of damage with your Flamethrower. It's going to be very useful there. And of course, against Lance, very, very good against Lance because Lance is going to be weak to Dragon, and Charizard can learn Dragon Claw, and that's special type damage in Generation 3, and Charizard is a special type attacker, so you're going to potentially one-shot most of these Pokemon here. Avoid the Gyarados and avoid the Aerodactyl, but very good against the true Dragons, and Lance, very, very good there. Again, coming into the rival, this time you'd have a little bit different battle. You'd have to fight an Arcanine, so probably pretty good against that Pokemon. Not against the Blastoise. Take out the Executor, no issues there. Overall, very good choice. If you went with Charmander, I'd probably bring your Charizard. And if you chose Squirtle as your starter, then I would definitely bring the Blastoise. Very, very good in the Elite Four here. It's going to resist everything from Lorelei. You could throw in some Toxics. Very good there. It's got some coverage against Bruno. Excellent against Agatha as well. Again, especially if you have Pivot to Gyarados, lower that physical attack coming from Sludge Bomb, Shadow Ball. You could throw on Rest to heal if they hit you with any Toxics. And it's going to do a pretty good amount of damage, It's still got 85 special attack, so that's pretty good overall. So you can get a lot of damage in here against Agatha. You're going to kind of chip damage down, or certainly, potentially stall out a little bit, in terms of, protect. You can heal with some leftovers. And of course, it is phenomenal against Lance. Throw in that Ice Beam, and you're going to deal a lot of damage. It's still going to be excellent against Gyarados and Aerodactyl. And of course, in terms of rival, you're going to have to fight the Venusaur. So that's going to be a bit of an issue. You're going to have to deal with that. But it only has Solar Beam, in Sunny Day. So it's just going to probably set up Sunny Day, and then you can just throw in a Fire-type Pokemon and get the job done. So overall, if you have Blastoise, I definitely would recommend bringing it. Super, super bulky, super defensive. If you couple it with something like a Skull Bash, you can raise your physical defense even further. Great mon. Definitely would bring it. Now, I'm just going to briefly mention the next couple of Pokemon because they're pretty exceedingly rare. Clefable has a little bit higher odds than some of the other Pokemon, as you can do a manip on the basement level of Mount Moon to increase the chances. but it's still a pretty low percentage encounter rate, but it is a phenomenal Pokemon. I mean, it's got cosmic power. Couple that with some free heals, and this Pokemon can be really dangerous. It's got a lot of TMs that it can learn. If you happen to get a Clefable, you're in very good shape, but I would recommend keeping it a Clefairy for as long as you possibly can, because you're going to want to have cosmic power. And once you evolve it into Clefable, you pretty much don't learn anything. So I would just keep it in your PC if you happen to get it, and save it for the E4. Really, really good. Chansey, again, absolutely phenomenal. You know, it's one of the best Pokemon in the game. It's going to wall anything special. You throw in your Move Tutor, Seismic Toss, really, really good. Kangaskhan, again. These are, you know, really rare Pokemon that you're going to get in the Safari Zone. You know, you can learn Shadow Ball, absolutely demolish Agatha. Great Pokemon. Similar thing with Taurus. I mean, just a really, really strong Pokemon. Again, you're probably not going to get it. It's a super rare encounter. Dratini you could get. You could certainly buy Dratini, and you have a really high chance of getting it if you use the right rod in the Safari Zone. Again, depending on your Nuzlocke, it may be banned. Dragonite is really, 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 really good. It's just going to be strong against everything except Lorelei and Lance. So if you have it and you want to use it, yeah, man, definitely bring it. Great Pokemon. Moving down the tier list, we're going to start to spend a little bit less time on each Pokemon as we move our way down. But I do want to talk about Golem and Marowak here. Both are pretty good. Would definitely consider bringing them. They're not necessarily the go-tos. They have high physical defense. Marowak has a little bit higher special defense, so that can give you some good coverage. Again, not going to be useful against Lorelei. And you know, again, you got to find kind of the niches of where you're going to use these Pokemon. And really, Agatha is kind of the go-to here because, again, you can't hit him with the ground type moves, but you know, due to that rock type for the Golem, we're going to resist those poison type attacks. It's going to be really useful with the high physical defense. Sludge Bombs and Shadow Balls are not going to do very much damage at all to Golem. You know, you just got to get lucky, get a nice hit in there. Again, Marowak is going to be pretty good with the high special defense. It's going to be a little bit more useful. You know, potentially you could use it against Lance, against an Outrage. You can surprisingly learn Ice Beam. So if you need to, you could use that against Lance. You can get some coverage there. You can get some coverage against Pidgeot. You know, things like that, right? Hit the Rhydon with an Ice Beam. You know, so that's kind of why these Pokemon are still pretty good, yeah, because they have some decent coverage. But you know, if you have better Pokemon, you know, like a Muck or something, I'd probably bring that. Moving on to Arbok and Weezing. These Pokemon are both pretty good. Arbok obviously can have Intimidate, which is excellent. I mean, Shut Skin's not bad, but really is only going to be useful for your paralysis. You know, obviously he can't get toxic, so I'd rather have an Intimidating Arbok personally. You know, you can go for the, you know, Stockpile, Swallow, Strats. Never used it personally, but, you know, most usefully is that both Arbok and Weezing learn the move Haze. This is going to reset those status changes, right? So when Gengar starts double teaming, you have a counter to that. You know, that's really where these Pokemon are pretty useful. You know, both have pretty good, you know, move pulls. I would say Weezing has a lot better defense, very good physical defense, you know, pretty decent SpEdF overall. It's got Levitate, seems to be immune to those ground types, unlike Arbok. It's going to take some damage from that. You know, Weezing can learn some pretty good moves. You know, it can learn Thunderbolt, so that could be useful against Lorelei. Flamethrower could be used against your Executor. You know, again, you can come up with a variety of different things. You know, Weezing's got that Shadow Ball, which is going to be really, really good against Lorelei. Unfortunately, Arbok can't learn that, so it makes it a little bit less useful. But because Arbok has Intimidate, you can pivot. You know, if you pivot between Arbok and Gyarados on Lorelei, you can whittle those attacks down so they're barely doing anything. And especially with Weezing, I mean, you know, you can't get toxic, right? So you're barely going to take any damage. And they're both very, very high utility against Agatha. You know, again, a little bit less useful against, you know, Lance, but they do provide some good coverages. So overall, very good Pokemon. Hitmonlee is definitely a good Pokemon to consider, and of the fighting types, I would probably put it at the highest level, really because Hitmonlee has excellent special defense, and that's really, really useful here because a lot of the attacks from the E4 are special type, especially Lorelei is going to hit you with, you know, all special type attacks, right?
and ice is going to be weak to fighting, so you can come in with those fighting attacks and really kind of smash through. Again, Slowbro and Jinx are going to be neutral, but the rest of the Pokemon are going to be weak to fighting, so it's going to be very useful in that sense. Again, Bruno, you could use it there as well. Take out the Onyxes. Again, I'd probably go for your special type attacks against your fighting types there, but you certainly could use Hitmonlee, but I'd be a little bit more cautious due to his lower physical defense. Again, he's much more of a special defender, so I would avoid using him against Agatha. Bad situation, right? They're going to attack with those physical attacks, so I would avoid Hitmonlee again, and you can't hit ghost types with fighting moves, so again, not going to be useful there. But pretty good against Lance, right? Again, it's going to hit with those outrages. Hyper Beam might potentially kill Hitmonlee, so it's again that's why these Pokemon are not necessarily in the highest tier, because they have a weakness. He's got low physical defense, and that is really bad. His special defense is great, right? So he's going to do well against the outrage, not good against the Hyper Beam. Again, and with Dragonite being flying, you've got a couple flying moves to kind of dodge, wing attacks. So you got to watch out for that. So that kind of, again, makes him a little bit less useful, but, does have some place for some attacks, again, here and there. Overall, not a bad Pokemon. Now, I've put the Venusaur and the Vileplume here in the next category, just because, really, there's a lot of coverages here that make these Pokemon a little bit less useful overall. They're both very, very strong against Agatha, right? So, I wouldn't use them against Lorelei. They could probably tank one Ice Beam, but, they both can heal. You can set up some Leech Seeds, or you can do Moonlight. Again, you got to make sure that you keep your Vileplume as a Gloom until it reaches level 35 when it learns Moonlight, and then evolve it. Otherwise, you'll never have Moonlight, and then that makes the Pokemon a lot less useful. Both are going to be really good here against the fighting types on Bruno. Gotta watch out for the EQs, but it can easily take out those Pokemon, and again, phenomenal against Agatha. You gotta watch out for Air Cutter, but other than that, again, Dream Eater, that's a problem too, but again, you can always switch out. As far as the Gengars, the Arbok are concerned, it's very, very great. They're going to resist those Sludge Bombs. They can't get toxic. You can set up a Leech Seed, or just hit with some good attacks here. You can Stun Spore the Gengar and lower the speed. A lot of different utilities for those Pokemon, so I would still say that they're very useful to bring. And again, good against Lance, right? Outrages, Hyper Beams, probably tank a hit or two there, right? Again, set up a Leech Seed on Dragonite, suck out that HP, right? And that's always good, right? Thinking about the rival, again, definitely have some utility here as well. Good against the Rhydon, good against, your Gyarados, not so much against Alakazam, the Charizard, but certainly have a role here. You can also bring Executor if you want to have a Leech Seeder and you don't have your Venusaur alive anymore, or you chose a different starter. It has some limited utility, I would say. Overall, not bad. I mean, definitely don't use it against Lorelei, that's for sure. Very good against Bruno, right? It's gonna wall that, no problems. Gotta watch out for the Sludge Bombs on Agatha, and of course the Shadow Balls, so I would avoid that, but it can be useful to bait moves, depending on what the AI is going to go for. You might be able to use that to switch into something else. And of course, Lance, you could throw up your Leech Seed. That's always useful, right? It's not a bad Pokemon. It's pretty decently bulky, I would say. As far as physical defense, got a lot of HP too, and it has a lot of special attack, right? So you could use that to your advantage. Toxic's always an option, right? Psychic's going to do a lot of damage. You can certainly get a lot of damage in with Giga Drain. That's always good as well, right? And of course, it also learns Light Screen, so that's going to help you out, even though Executor doesn't have the greatest special defense. Light Screen is going to decrease that damage, so essentially it kind of doubles that, so it does make it really strong in that sense, and it can definitely be useful. Use it against the champion, great against Alakazam. You could set up a Leech Seed. You could drain the Rhydon, no issues. Executor versus Executor, man. It could be a nice little battle to the finish there, right? Not bad. Kingler's up next, and this Pokemon's pretty good. Again, very, very good physical attack, very good physical defense. Special defense, not as good, right? So it has a little bit less utility against Lorelei. Not that you would necessarily want to do that, but just be cautious if you're going to use Kingler against Lorelei. coming in with those attacks, right? Very, very good against Bruno, right? It's going to absolutely demolish this encounter. No problems there. Again, Agatha is going to be all physical, right? So that's why Kingler is so good, because Sludge Bombs and Shadow Balls are not going to do that much damage because he's got incredible physical defense, right? Again, naturally learns Protect, so you could throw on, some leftovers, start to get some free heals in there. Again, still has okay damage, right? 50 special attack is not great, but I would probably still go with Ice Beam against Lance. That's probably the way to go. Or you could certainly go Rock Tomb against Dragonite. That's also useful. Lower that speed. Again, coming into the rival, can be pretty good. You could use it against Pidgeot. You can use it against Rhydon. Probably wouldn't use it against Charizard, but if you're in that situation, it could be a nice little sack mod to get you over to another Pokemon that's faster. So overall, pretty strong. Poliwrath is also really good here. Pretty strong Pokemon. If you have Water Absorb, that's great for some pivots against Lorelei. Very strong against Bruno. You can teach him Psychic. Also useful against Agatha. Of course, you can teach Ice Beam for Lance. It can definitely be useful against the champion as well. Pretty good Pokemon. Very good defensively. Lots of HP. Not the fastest Pokemon. Doesn't have the greatest attack, but it is bulky, and you can certainly use it for pivots if you set up a Toxic or something like that. So definitely has some utility. Dugong is another really strong water type here. Might even be potential S tier. It's kind of right on the line, I would say. It doesn't have the most phenomenal stats on paper, but pretty good SpEdF. And a lot of HP, and it naturally learns Rest, so that's really, really useful. That's why this Pokemon is so good. You can heal up against those status ailments, just restore that HP. Again, if you throw Toxic or something, you could use it as a pivot Pokemon for Lorelei. Especially if you have Thick Fat, that's going to help things out a lot. Very, very good. You could use Icy Wind to lower speed. You could use that against Agatha. If you want to go sheer cold strats, go for it. Do it. You probably won't hit, but you might. You could try that. Certainly be useful against Agatha. If you want, you could go for Thief. You could steal a Citrus Berry or something like that. Might be useful in that sense. You can certainly set up a Rain Dance. Yeah, if you want to help your other Water Team Pokemon out. Good opportunities there, right? It's going to have that Stab Ice Beam, which is really good for Lance. Excellent for that, and definitely some good coverage here against Champion as well. Again, you could use it as a pivot Pokemon, as long as you can survive an extra attack then. On the flip side, go for Rest. So very good utility, very good water type here. And Magaton is another solid choice here. It's the only Steel type that you can get in the game, and pretty strong overall. Completely destroys Lorelei. Not as useful in some of the other situations. It's good for pivots on Agatha, can't be toxic, can only get hit by Sludge Bomb, so that's useful. And certainly going to resist those dragon types from Lance. However, do keep in mind that, Magaton is not quite as bulky as Magazone, so he still is susceptible to getting damage, and certainly going to be really weak to the Charizard. But overall, very strong Pokemon. Definitely an excellent choice. Jolteon, of course, is another solid choice. Very, very strong Pokemon. Very fast. Pretty decent special defense. And it completely demolishes Lorelei. You can definitely use it against Bruno. Definitely useful against Agatha as well. Again, not as good physically, defensively, so you gotta watch out. Probably gonna take a lot of damage from a Sludge Bomb, but you could lead Jolteon and potentially Oko the Gengar with Thunder if you hit, but definitely some utility there. Lance is going to resist those electrics, so not as useful, but definitely can take out Gyarados and Aerodactyl. Can be useful for that. And of course against Champion, taking out Pidgeot, no problems there. Might be able to take out Charizard in one hit potentially. Again, you got to be careful. Hopefully he goes for a Fire Blast. But if he goes for Aerial Ace, that's going to do a lot of damage, and Jolteon doesn't have the greatest physical defense. But, again, it's still a pretty good Pokemon overall, and a solid choice. All right, moving down the list, going to talk about Seadra and Golduck. So, obviously, unfortunately, you can't evolve Seadra in this game prior to defeating the Elite Four. But Seadra's not a bad Pokemon overall. It's got pretty good special attack. Of course, Poison Point ability can be useful in some situations. Definitely good against Lance with the Ice Beams.
But you know, overall, kind of a mid-tier Pokemon. I mean, obviously, Kingdra is far superior than Seadra, but it's still a useful Pokemon. You know, Golduck is also, you know, I would say okay. I mean, it's got decent special attack, got good special defense. You know, it can be useful with Calm Mind strats, so you certainly could use that to your advantage, depending on the situation. But again, you know, you could use it for Lorelei, very good for that. You could also Calm Mind against Bruno. You can teach him Psychic, can be useful for that as well. Not as good against Agatha. Again, you know, tends to be more special defense than physical defense, but you could use Psychic, certainly an option. And again, Lance used that Ice Beam, very good there. I mean, again, it's pretty good overall. I mean, it definitely gets the job done, but you know, I think there are a lot of stronger water types than Golduck, certainly. So you know, again, if those Pokemon are dead, I would say Golduck's pretty good. Now let's talk about the fossil Pokemon here, starting with Kabutops. And overall, you know, it's an okay Pokemon. I mean, it's got pretty good physical attack, decent defense, but you know, the big issues come down to how this Pokemon is in this game, right? You know, so it's got good stats on paper, but most of the moves are special type attacks, and he's a physical attacker. So other than Slash, you really don't have a lot of options here. You know, unless you delay the evolution, you can't even get Ancient Power until level 65, which is going to be after the E4. So, you know, you could potentially come in with it, but, you know, it's only 5 PP, so you're forced to use Rock Tomb or go to the move tutor and teach the Rock Slide if you want a stab move, but it doesn't really naturally learn them, and you may want to use them on other Pokemon for coverage. So it really just kind of limits the utility of Kabutops. You know, again, you know, he's not going to do a lot of damage with Surfs and Ice Beams as other Pokemon will. Omastar is definitely the better fossil Pokemon here. Definitely not a bad choice. I would say it's pretty high B tier in borderline A. Not bad. I mean, it definitely has pretty good special attack. It's going to do great against Lance with those Ice Beams. You know, you can certainly use it defensively against Agatha. It's going to resist those Sludge Bombs. So it definitely has some utility. You can Tickle again. If you don't have an Intimidator, you can use that to lower attacks from Agatha. Ancient Power is always an option. You know, you've got super effective Ice Beam coming against Lance. I mean, it's a pretty good mon overall. But no, again, there are other Pokemon that can accomplish this that have a little bit better move pools, which is why I put it in a little bit lower category. But it's still a strong choice. All right, talking about Fearow and Dodrio. These Pokemon are pretty similar, and they're okay. I mean, they get the job done if you need to. If you're in an emergency situation and you need a Dark type move, they both have them. But you know, unfortunately, Dark is special in Gen 3, therefore it's less useful than it is in later generations, as these are both physical attack Pokemon. And you know, again, they're okay. They've got some utility, but they're not quite as fast or as powerful as Aerodactyl, so they're definitely on the lower tier. You know, and again, I mean, other than Bruno, you don't really need flying types, and you can use Aerial Ace, and you can use Fly on some other Pokemon. That gives you some coverage, so it makes these Pokemon a little bit less useful. Lickitung is also a reasonable option here, and I would definitely say it's in the higher B tier, borderline A tier. Maybe I misplaced it. I don't know. This is just kind of a general list of Pokemon, and feel free to let me know in the comments if you think something is out of place or you have something else that I missed that you think is a great strat here. I'd love to hear about that. But I think Lickitung is a pretty decent Pokemon. Overall very, very bulky. It's got a lot of HP, pretty decent defense and special defense, and most importantly, it has a phenomenal move pool. So other than Bruno, you can use it on all the Elite Four members and the champion, and you can teach it something that's super effective against some of those Pokemon. And that makes this Pokemon very, very good, very useful. You can throw Protect on there, Leftovers, Heal Up. I mean, it's a pretty good Pokemon. It doesn't have great attack, which is why it's not a top tier Pokemon. But it certainly can be useful in your overall team picture. Parasect is not a bad Pokemon to use throughout this Nuzlocke, but it's not quite as useful against the E4. Again, it's going to be weak to Lorelei, obviously. Phenomenal against Bruno. Again, you can teach Aerial Ace if you want to. Again, other Pokemon can learn that move, and other Pokemon can defeat Bruno. So it's kind of like, okay, do you really need a Parasect for Bruno? Probably not. Is it useful against Agatha? No, right? Even though he's physically strong, he's going to be weak to those Sludge Bombs, right? And, again, maybe you get lucky with an Effect Spore, but other than that, it's not quite as useful. Again, not bad against Lance, Again, do have to watch out for wing attacks, but other than that, you can use it for those situations. Again, Spore is also a phenomenal move. Really, that's one of the reasons to have Parasect, to use it for pivots, use it for Spores, but it is useful against the Alakazam, of course. Walls that, no problem. Certainly useful against Executor. Good against the Rhydon as well. Great against Gyarados, but it's going to be weak to Charizard, weak to Pidgeot. Again, it's got enough weaknesses, I think, to the overall E4 picture that it kind of makes it a mid-tier for E4. Primeape's kind of a mediocre choice, if you have to use it, you do, but there are certainly other Pokemon that are better, and Hitmonlee is a much better fighting type choice. It's got its utility in this game for sure, but in this particular situation, again, I don't think it has a sped up to survive Lorelei, despite having super effective fighting, So you can teach a lot of Pokemon Brick Break, something like Blastoise, teach Brick Break, you can destroy Lorelei, right? So it's like, do you really need a fighting type Pokemon? Probably not, but it's at least worth mentioning. You can use it against Lorelei, but again, it'll probably get killed. It really just doesn't have a lot of utility here. But there's a couple Pokemon that it could help out on. And it is decently fast, so it can outspeed some Pokemon. It has a little bit of coverage, so if you need to use it, it is there. But overall, kind of a mediocre choice. And Venomoth is not a terrible option to go with if you need something against Agatha. It's not too great against a lot of other E4 members, but it does have Psychic, and it learns that naturally, which is great because you can still use the TM on something else, and you're going to be able to be immune to the Toxics, resist the Sludge Bombs, so it definitely can get the job done against Agatha. Again, physical defense is not super high, so you will take some damage from Shadow Ball. Do keep that in mind, and Sludge Bomb still might get you. So you got to watch out. Now, obviously, you can't get poisoned, so you can't get the sped off drop. But again, it doesn't really matter because Agatha has physical attacks other than bite. So again, it's an okay Pokemon. Again, there are better Pokemon. I think the big thing is moves like Silverwind are physical, right, in this generation. So you don't get as much utility out of Venomoth as you would in a later generation. Butterfree is not the worst option if you need something with special defensive bulk, but it does have its weaknesses, right? It's not going to do well against Lorelei. Will be good against Bruno, but Agatha is going to get the better of it with the Sludge Bombs. Definitely going to watch out for that. And again, Shadow Ball is not going to do very much damage because it's physical, and Butterfree's physical attack is only 45. So, yeah. Decent against lands. You can put up a safeguard. It has its utility, but it's not that strong of a Pokemon. I think in Generation 3, it's just a little bit more limited, and it's okay. It gets the job done, but it's not my first choice. Eradicate is also another option here. Not a bad Pokemon. It's pretty fast. It's got okay attack, but you have to have the Guts ability. That is critical because you need that attack to be a lot higher, right, than 81 to get the job done. But you can teach it Shadow Ball, which is phenomenal against Lorelei, and that is why this Pokemon is still in the runnings. That's why it's still B tier, because it will take care of Agatha, and you won't have to worry about Agatha anymore. And that makes things a lot better. Eradicate will definitely do very, very good there. It's got some type coverages, but again, it's a physical attacker, and it's not going to help you going for an Ice Beam with a special attack of 50. If you really, really need to, I guess you can. But yeah, Seeking is not going to be too great here. You can do some agility flail strats if you want to get crazy, but other than that, it's kind of mediocre as far as water Pokemon are concerned. Its special attack is garbage, and it just doesn't have enough of a physical move pool to be useful here. And as good of a Pokemon as Tangela is, I have to put it down in the C category because it really just isn't that strong in the Kanto Elite Four. It's great against Bruno, but it's got weaknesses to every other Elite Four member, and it just renders its utility a lot lower here. And the same is true for Machamp here. Is it a good Pokemon? Yeah, it's got a lot of attack, but it is very, very slow. And it's just, defensively, it's not bad. It's got good HP. If you have one with Guts, you can do quite a lot of damage. Again, it's going to be good for Lorelei. It's decent for Bruno, but, it's not going to be good against Agatha.
not really going to be that great against lands. You know, again, with so many flying types, it's just, you know, you're limited with your physical movesets here. As far as attacks, you know, it just doesn't really get the job done. Hypno is definitely not my first choice. It's not the worst Pokemon. It's got good special defense. You can use Calm Mind, but you're pretty limited to just Psychic because it doesn't learn a lot of good special attack moves. So you can't really do very much with your Calm Mind, and you're better off putting it on another Pokemon and saving it for something else. I mean, it's okay. Again, it'll get the job done against some of the E4 members, but it's just really not that strong, which is why it's in the lower tier. And Rhydon's going to be down in Category C here. It is a great Pokemon, but just for this particular E4, it's just not very good. I mean, it's got a lot of weaknesses to a lot of these E4 members. You know, it's got really low speed and terrible special defense, and that is very, very hindering for Rhydon. And of course, with the low special attack, it's just not going to help much with flamethrowers and thunderbolts and, you know, trying to get some coverage in there. But again, it's just not going to really help out too much. Is it a bad mon? No, it's great. Is it useful here? No. And sadly, Flareon has found itself down at the bottom of the list here. As much as I love this Pokemon, it's less useful before the physical special split. And the moveset is just not too great here on Flareon. I mean, it's good defensively, especially, but not in a physical defense, very bad speed. So it's just going to take a lot of damage from physical moves, and that's going to limit its utility. I'm obviously no good against Lorelei, and it's not going to be good against Agatha. And I mean, and like Agatha is just such a problem. You want something that's going to be really strong against it, right? So can you use it against Lance? I mean, sure, but there are other Pokemon that are far more useful, and just due to the lack of access to good physical moves, it just renders Flareon a lot less useful here. And Electrode, of course, is down here in the bottom of the list. Is it good against Lorelei? Sure. Is it fast? Yes. But other than that, it's not that great. Never been a big fan. Very limited move pool. Not that great overall. And of course, Porygon's down here because, well, you know, I really want Porygon 2 because it's a much better Pokemon. But, I mean, it's not bad. It's got Recover. It's got a decent move pool. It's got some good coverage. But, you know, Tri-Attack's going to be physical. It's a special attacker. So that makes, you know, those, you know, lucky strats there trying to get some pairs and freezes and stuff, you know, can't do that, right? Because it's not going to be useful. And it's just not as bulky. It's slow. It's going to take hits. Sure, it can recover, but, you know, is it useful in the right situation? If you need something, maybe, but it's not my first go-to. And I would generally try to avoid the Pokemon in D tier. I guess Beedrill maybe could be considered C. It has some limited utility with its SpEdF, but it's just a little bit limited in terms of its move pool. It's got mostly special attacks, and it's a physical attacker, but it's still mediocre, you know, only attack of 80. I mean, it has its utility, but not as good here in this game. Onyx is just really bad here. Terrible physical attack, right? If you get yourself a Steelix, which you can't, that would change things. Dugtrio, don't bring it, right? I mean, yes, it's fast, but it's very, very weak to physical attacks. It's going to get demolished. Don't do it. And Wigglytuff, I'm thinking, you know, maybe it should have been C or CB, you know, kind of borderline there. I mean, it's got good TM coverage, which is great, but again, you know, Shadow Ball is not going to do a lot of damage as it's a special attacker, but, you know, defensively, it's going to be susceptible to Bruno. Great for pivots on Shadow Ball, but Sludge Bomb, you know, got a crit in there or something, it's going to do a lot of damage. Yes, you can rest, but, you know, overall, it's not nearly as good as a lot of other Pokemon are. And Persian just doesn't have a lot of utility here. I mean, it's super fast. You can use Shadow Ball, take out the Alakazam, take out Agatha, but other than that, it's just not going to be that great here. Not going to do a lot of damage, and it's probably going to die. And of course, Pidgeot and Farfetch'd, you know, if you're going to go for a flying type, please don't go for these Pokemon. I mean, Pidgeot is just not going to do a lot of damage. And Farfetch'd, of course, is very good in Generation 1. And if you don't know, check out the Farfetch'd solo run video because it is very good, but not in this game. Not good in Generation 3. It's only good because of the badge boost in Gen 1. And it's just very lackluster here, and I don't recommend bringing it. And now it's time to fight the Elite Four. Well, time for you to fight the Elite Four. You see, every Nuzlocke is different.
And there are so many possible scenarios that could unfold with different Pokemons and different moves, and I just don't think it's worth trying to unfold every single one of them because there are way too many. And depending on which Pokemon have died and what TMs you have left, that's really going to determine what Pokemon you can bring into the Elite Four here. And you might also have good Pokemon on your ban list, right? So that's going to impact things and make things a little bit different for you than it might be for someone else. So I think hopefully you've learned enough in this guide that you've got some tools under your belt. You figured out what you're going to do here for the Elite Four. You're going to go in there, you're going to crush things. Not ready for the E4 or just want to become a better Nuzlocker? Well, be sure to check out my tutorial series on tips and tricks as well as common pitfalls that might be ending some of your Nuzlocke runs. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to drop a follow for the Twitch channel. Come over and hang out and check out the live Pokemon music.